Hey Adventurers, so today I'm going to do my thoughts, reaction, whatever you want to call it, to the Percy Jackson Season 1. Percy Jackson and the Olympians series that DisneyPlus created. I like doing these adaptation discussions, and so I wanted to do one for Percy Jackson as well because I did watch Percy Jackson and I have thoughts. So first off, we'll get the easy stuff out of the way. Casting, for the most part, I like the casting. There's a few things that didn't work for me, but for the most part it's good. Visuals look good. For the most part, I like the interpretation of the world. I feel like it fits what's described in the books. I feel like it also fits the Greek aesthetic to a good degree, to a strong degree, and so those are positive things. It's also clearly telling the story of the Lightning Thief, book 1 of the Percy Jackson and the Olympians series. So those are all positives. I do have some other positives that I will get to in a second here, and this video is going to be much shorter than most of my other adaptation discussion videos are, because I don't have as much to say. I do have some thoughts, I do have some things to say. I also did not organize them. I just literally have my phone with some notes on them, and we will see how much I elaborate on them as I go through. I will say this: when I started watching the show, my first thought was, this is really slow, but it's also good. It seems to be adapting the book fairly well, fairly faithfully. Obviously some changes. I mostly chalk them up to, I don't remember exactly what it is because it's been 2 years since I read the Percy Jackson books, and I know that there's also got to be changes for a different medium, for telling the story in a different medium. So for the most part, that's what I chalked it up to, and I was fine with that. So the first, I think 3 episodes, that was my mindset. This is fine, there's some really good things about this, I'm enjoying a lot about this. The rest of these thoughts are going to be from me having watched the entire series and looking back the entire season and then looking back at what we got. So I already mentioned that the first few episodes I found to be really slow, and I still agree with that, and I would almost say that maybe the slow is not good slow, it's boring. The note that I have is slow, dare I say boring, and I think, yeah, it's not the most engaging series. I think so many of the fans of it, or so many of the people watching it, watched it all the way through because they're fans of the books, and I'm not sure if that's a good thing. Next note I have is, it's too focused on hitting all the major points of the books and being more faithful rather than telling a good story. Of course, I am all for faithful adaptations, except that this one is only faithful where it wants to be. I totally get that Rick Riordan was a producer on the show. He at least had some input on the scripts, so I get that he was an active part of the show's creation, and I appreciate that. And it's clear that he was there to some degree, but I also think that, as I said here, it's too focused on hitting the major points of the book and not focused enough on telling a good story. There's so many moments that, although the series was really slow, it was also rushed. We did not have the time to be a part of all the events that happened. This is a show that could perfectly easily be a very episodic series, as the books are written, where each episode is one of the events of the book and then you move on. And they tried to do that with this show, but it didn't quite fit, and it didn't quite all piece together as nicely as they were hoping. Along with this idea of it being too focused on hitting all the major points of the book and being a faithful adaptation, it was too focused on not being the movies. This is also an issue. The movies, whatever you may think of them, are their own thing, and this show was supposed to be its own thing, and if there was things that were similar to the movies, so be it. If there were things that were drastically different because they wanted to be more faithful to the books, so be it, that's fine. But it felt like they were so focused on not doing anything the same way that it was done in the movies because nobody seems to like the movies, or because the movies had such a bad reputation at the very least. And that's not a good thing either. If there's things that worked in the movies, you should reuse them, or not reuse them, but take those concepts, those ideas, and find a way to work them into the show so that maybe they'll work again in the show, maybe they won't. But I feel like it was too focused on not being the movies. I felt like there was not very high stakes. I didn't feel like there was much of a reason to care. And I didn't have any attachment to characters like Luke. I will say the one thing that I think they did the best was actually Sally's storyline. I feel like the work that was put into telling Sally's story for this first book, and that's Sally's relationship with Percy and all that stuff, I thought that was really well done. So that is a good thing. That just kind of came up here. That's not usually... Normally that would have gone in my good things that I have towards the bottom, but I forgot. I didn't write it down at the time and it just kind of came up. Anyways, next one. The nicknames felt forced. Seaweed Brain, Wise Girl, all those things. They felt like they were just used for the sake of using them in the... Because that's what the characters call each other in the book. Again, just using them for the sake of staying faithful to the source material. Again, if it doesn't work in the source material, or if it doesn't work in the adaptation, remove it. Or make it feel less forced, make it more natural. The very last one that we hear doesn't feel quite so forced, but the other times, the first times we're hearing it, it's like this is just here because it's here, and it doesn't make sense with the story, it doesn't make sense with the characters, why they'd be saying that at the moment. It's literally only there, and we're excited to hear it because that's what the characters say in the books. I don't care for that. That's not good adaptation. The last note here in this specific block of notes that I wrote is a lot of it feels forced. There's a lot of the story that feels like it's just moving forward because that's what the plot has to, because that's where the book ends up, and so you have to make the episodes go there too. It just feels forced. Throughout the entire show, it felt forced. Yeah, that's my... It felt forced, and it was slow, almost boring. And those are not good combinations to have. I'll put this here. Oh, I was considering putting it here or at the end, and I think here is a better spot for it because then I can end kind of on a higher note. The show is just not fun. Not in the same way that the books are, and that's an issue because these books are so much fun. This is a type of show that it needs to at least be fun, and all I can think of is I do compare them to the movies because you can't not compare them to the movies, and all I can think of is, well, at least the movies were fun. Maybe they weren't good adaptations, maybe they weren't faithful adaptations, maybe they weren't even good movies, but they were fun. And I don't get that feeling from this show. I did not feel like this show was very fun, and who knows, maybe I am not the target audience for the show. I'm probably not. I'm probably older than the target audience for sure, but I just didn't feel like it was fun in any way. There were moments, there were times when things were fun, there were ideas that I liked seeing, there's stuff in it that I enjoyed, but I felt like it was slow, it felt forced, and it was not fun. And that kind of ruins the show for you when you're not really enjoying it. And I didn't dislike it, it was not nearly as strong as it needed to be, in my opinion. Now let's get into some of the good things. Walker Scobell as Percy. Perfect choice for Percy. Of course, I still wish that he had dark hair. I still wish he was a more faithful casting adaptation to the books. Again, the movies did better in the casting department in terms of characters looking like they're supposed to. But I do think Walker is a good choice. He's got the acting ability, he has the attitude, he has the Percy attitude down. I'm not quite sure that he's gotten the character down quite yet, or if he's just playing it. And that's fine. He's still a young actor, he still can grow into the character quite a bit. I think Arian, I don't know his last name, but the kid who plays Grover, I think does a fantastic job with Grover. Probably one of the best casting choices for the kids. I genuinely think he was fantastic. I think Chiron is really good. I thought that his role, or his acting, really, all of the adult guest stars I thought were fantastic in the roles, as is not really that surprising since the adult guest stars have had so much more acting experience than the kids. They just know how to play these characters so much better. But Chiron was one that I specifically thought was really good, except the CGI. I feel like the horse CGI, the centaur's CGI that we got for him was really bad. It looked clunky. The movements and stuff were fine, just the design of it didn't look good. Again, the movies looked really good. Chronicles of Narnia, the centaurs look really good. Even Harry Potter, to some degree, the centaurs look decent. So I know that good centaurs can be done, and I just feel like the CGI for Chiron wasn't, but the acting was. So we're on the good things here, not the negative things. Again, the adult guest stars, especially Medusa. Jessica Parker Kennedy, I believe is her name, the actress who plays Medusa. Of course, I've seen her in The Flash, and so I know who she is a little bit. But she's so much better as Medusa than she was in The Flash. Just so good. Her performance, of course, the script that she had to work with, the changes that they made from her character in the book to this character in the show worked really well. The setting, the feel of the atmosphere of the entire scene was really well done. And so I think that Jessica Parker Kennedy as Medusa absolutely killed it. The guy who plays Ares, I think, did really good. I just wish that they would have had I just wish that he had the eyes of flame like he does in the books. That it frustrates me. There's these minor details, and I know they have a budget, and I understand that sometimes you can't translate things from book to show in the same way that they need to, or as easily or whatever, but there's just minor details like this that I do wish were better. But the acting for him, the character, the personality that he had were all really good. Poseidon, the guy who plays Poseidon's fantastic. The guy who played, well, the relationship between Poseidon and Zeus, I thought was really well executed in terms of the acting performance between them. So for the most part, I have very little issues with the performances. I do have a few minor issues here and there with casting decisions, but for the most part, especially the adult characters, I thought were excellently done, and the performances that they gave were very good. So I don't really have much of a problem with those. It's, again, I understand that the child actors, and that they don't have the experience, they don't have the understanding that adult actors do oftentimes, and so I can give them some grace in that term, in that way. But there was just times when the child actors weren't quite as good as they needed to be, and didn't quite fit the characters that they're supposed to be playing, at least as naturally as I would have liked them to. But largely, I enjoyed all of that. As I mentioned, it looked good. I enjoyed the music for the most part. I enjoyed the fact that we did get so many of these highlights from the books, so many of these moments that are in the books. I wish they would have been done more like they are in the books, sure, but I appreciate how faithful they were attempting to stay for most of the book. I'm not positive. There's some things in my brain that I'm like, is this how it happened though? It's been a while. It's been too long since I've read the books, and that's fine. But there are some really good things about it, but it's the way I was actually talking to my brother about it the other day, and I said, it's so close to being excellent. And it's just not there. It's so close. They I just want them to be just a little bit better. And maybe they will be. Hopefully if they get a season 2, which it sounds like they're going to, but it hasn't been confirmed yet, hopefully if they get a season 2, it can be excellent and not have the issues that they had with season 1, which they didn't seem to have much in terms of studio or behind the scenes or anything like that. That all seemed to flow fairly easily, but I don't think the script was quite to the same level as it needed to be. I don't think it was quite as excellent as everybody claimed it was going to be, or was hoping that it was going to be, or anything like that. Not a total failure, but not as good as I was hoping. That's really about all that I have to say. This has already been much longer the video than I was expecting it to be. Hopefully I can cut down some stuff when I edit this. So anyways, thank you guys for watching an Erudite adventure. Please like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you guys again soon. Stay warm.